Good evening, book lovers of the internet. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe because for every subscriber, I get a new subscriber and they also read a page from a book of my choice. So in today's video, I am going to be reviewing The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Part 2. So this would be the book I am going to be reviewing in this video. So it's of course a manga volume, and many months ago I read the first part of this manga series. It was also the first volume. I have all 10 volumes on my bookshelf somewhere up there. I also have a poster. Um, Obviously, I didn't really remember much from the first part since I read it so long ago, but part 2 was a really good reminder regarding what happened in part 1, and it was pretty cool to note all the similarities between this one and the Super Mario Bros. As well. Maybe you will realize how there's Zelda and Princess Peach, Link and Super Mario. Then there's also the villain Ganondorf and Bowser. There are certain similarities, and they are both um, Nintendo related, so pretty cool. That was the first thing I wanted to mention. It has about 200 pages, and I rated it 3 out of 5 stars, and I'll go into more detail as to why I didn't rate it higher. Um, Basically, as I mentioned in my previous review with regards to part 1 of volume 1 of the series, I'm not a gamer. However, I still enjoyed the story despite the fact that it is confusing at times with so many details being sprinkled throughout without context, which of course makes it difficult for the reader to entirely understand what's going on. There are so many names and so many references to things that I don't particularly know what they mean, and therefore I can't follow the story so well or as well as I would wish to. Um, I'd say that it is a sweet conclusion to the Ocarina of Time story whereby good trumps over evil, as is the norm, and I kind of hate this trope by now. It's always good trumping over evil, and it's something that pisses me off. Um, then basically Link returns to when he was a child once again, 7 years prior apparently, thanks to Zelda who was disguised all along. There are 7 years of missing time in between, which, as I just mentioned, which I am not quite sure as to how they came to be. So let me know in the comment section if you are familiar with the story more than I am. And I'm sure that many of the people, either reading the review on Goodreads, since I will be leaving the link down below, or even watching the video right now, will know the world of Link or of the Legend of Zelda, the game itself, better than I do so far, and I am also rather desperate for answers. There are some things which I wish to know. For instance, why is Ganondorf such a bad guy, and is it because he wants to take over the world? And okay, perhaps you might think that this is immediately a bad thing, but if you want me to hate the antagonist so much, why not make his intentions more clear, make them sound even more evil for me to hate him? Otherwise, it just comes across as though he is an ambitious person who wants to have the whole world in his hands, and that is not necessarily a bad thing if his intentions are pure. Um, the twin Rova characters, as a matter of fact, they are basically twin sisters who um, are very manipulative. They are more despicable than Ganondorf himself. And the Deku Tree is a fascinating touch to the story, and I of course hate what Ganondorf did to it in part 1, but I still think that the story requires more conflict to make it even more interesting. Um, so many reviews have also mentioned how the game is infinitely better and how this is quite rushed. And while I do agree that you get a lot of action basically packed into very few pages, it is not boring at all. Um, I really didn't enjoy the additional material towards the end um, because it took away from the satisfaction of the conclusion the Ocarina of Time story brings you. Because at the end of the day, I still think that it is a good um, wrap up, and the additional material just takes away from that. So, despite being simple, it is still fun. Though the authors, since these are two authors rather than one person called Akira Himekawa, there are two female writers working on this and on the illustrations as well. But they definitely need to work on their humor and on their comedy skills if they are even trying to make anyone laugh, even where dramatic irony is concerned, for example, though that isn't the case entirely and there isn't much of it to begin with. So I still don't particularly understand why Link is called the hero of time, and if you could explain this to me as well, that would be pretty amazing. Now, I understand and I know that it has to do with the sword and the 7 years of missing time, but it seems like such a pretentious title for a character like him. I mean, is Link really a likable character? Is the question that I found myself asking throughout. Um, he is rather brave and I wouldn't say he is particularly admirable, but the way he acts, although sometimes comes across as courageous, as noble, it is also quite reckless, and that is a character trait which, while important in stories, I don't like in Link because that isn't the sort of person he is shaped to be. And especially, there are several references to Dragon Ball, what with Ganondorf's tail being his main problem, kind of like Goku over there, of course, if I'm not mistaken. But um, there are also several um, references to other stories, and I've read a lot of them before, so I'll know and appreciate these either coincidences or these references. And the Goku, much like Link, is meant to be pure of heart, so there is also that contrast between good and evil of Goku. Being a good guy but having a tail which is his Achilles heel, and Ganondorf having the same problem with his tail and being the bad guy. So that was an interesting touch. I'm not sure if it makes sense entirely, but anyway, that is all I had to say about Akira Himekawa's Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time Part 2. I'm not sure if I am going to continue reading the series because it is not entirely for me, and while I do enjoy the concept, I have much better things to read. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like, comment, share, of course subscribe if you haven't already, and help out the channel in any way you possibly can. Um, I appreciate all the support so far. Thank you for 1900, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Bye, guys.